The ACC commissioner is the dumbest boy alive. This is the Big 12 squad.
You're talking ball with the Big 12 squad, sponsored by Game Time. From Oklahoma State to Utah, from Kansas State to BYU, from Houston to Texas Tech, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming Big 12 weekend. Buckle up, it's the Big 12 squad and we have a seat for you. No hurt feelings and thin skin allowed. Squad up, you're part of the Big 12 squad.
Happy Thursday night, everybody. Welcome to the Big 12 squad. Bonus points if you got the John Boyce reference. The ACC has decided they want only the best in TV viewership to be in the same division, and that might just be stupid. Chris Level of Locked On Texas Tech. Parker Ainsworth talking all things Cougs with Houston. Cody Stovall, Locked On Oklahoma State. Cameron Stewart has a weird mustache. Derek Johnson, Locked On Jayhawks, and JT Westerself, Locked On Utes. Kevin Borba sued Colorado, the NFL, everybody involved for $100 million because his player didn't get drafted high enough. If you hit subscribe, we all get to keep our jobs. We will start right there. The ACC has decided they might move forward with this little format where they create football divisions basically based on how good you are, so that the better teams can play each other and ultimately bring them more TV viewership. And the bottom teams, this is almost like it's Premier League in essence. This, what's the word for it, Cameron? Relegation that decides what division you're in ACC football to determine whether or not you're in the good or you are the bad. This is like confuse, you lose. This is just going to further bury the ACC schools that are already bringing the conference specifically down. And I cannot imagine if you're Clemson or Florida State, you look at this without laughing a little bit.
If Florida State does what they did this year and they get relegated, they're just going to change the rule.
Yeah.
Again, like, no, we're going back to the rule. That was a dumb rule.
Or they'll sue, right? They'll just sue.
They'll sue for lost wages and get out of the conference with it, right? That they could just keep pushing that down the it feels inevitable.
I don't understand this idea. I don't understand it because realistically, sorry, JT, if you put all your good teams in the same conference, they beat up on each other, and then they pile up losses, and then this big thing called the playoff comes around, and your best team has 3 losses in conference.
So the best of the worst will be like 12-1, and that'll be the team who makes it.
And that'll be the team representing,
There we go.
You know what? They just recreated the old Big 12 when there was the Big 12 North and the Big 12 South. And as a former, Big 12 Norther, I mean, I love this idea.
Isn't this what happened with Is this what happened with SMU last year, guys? Correct me if I'm wrong. They missed Miami. They missed Florida. I know Florida State was bad, but they missed Florida State.
Was it divisions or just scheduling, though?
This is what happened with the Big 12 many years ago, and that's why the Big 12 has changed like 6 times way back when they were, showing favoritism to certain brands, and everybody was getting paid different, and it didn't work, and it broke apart, and now here we are.
It took 3.5 minutes. Yeah. 3.5 minutes for Level to bring up 08.
I will just point out
this was way before 08.
Hey, not having
I'm very happy
in Oklahoma and winning an Orange Bowl is great. I love that.
I'm very happy you've all changed and added more people. It made me a very happy person, actually.
And you get to deal with me now.
Yeah, the American squad was pretty lit. I saw.
That CUSA squad was crazy.
I appreciate both of the correlations back to the old school Big 12 because, ironically enough, it does kind of feel like the ACC is going backwards. They might as well change their acronym to the ASS conference because that's precisely what they look like. You can't sit here and tell me that it wasn't a very elementary look when they brought Cal and Stanford in. Okay, but we get desperation. We've been there too. And then you allow SMU to pay almost a decade's worth of their own money to end up being the best team in the conference. And now this is the next step. It just feels like the ACC is constantly grasping for straws. And Brett Yormark should love this because the Big 12 is sitting back looking better and better every day while the ACC is clearly flailing, looking for a way to find relevance.
Well, I want to push back a bit here on a couple of points that have been made in that, we talk about, can you build a schedule where so-and-so team benefits from this, right? Florida State could still go 2-10 no matter who they play. Texas, their first schedule in the SEC, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, A&M. it was a cakewalk. They didn't play anybody. So what you will create is inevitably NC State is the best team in that back half, and they end up going 11-1. And then the best team in your top half is 9-3. And now we're back to the conversation that we know the answer to: does strength of schedule or wins and losses matter? And the answer is we don't know. No one knows. It's arbitrary. It doesn't exist. It's a fugazi, whatever the word is.
Fugazi.
Level with
it's whatever level just said. But I think there's also a reason that relegation has not worked in American pro sports either. Like there's so much
Have we
dollars.
tried it? Have we tried
Well,
it?
but no owner in pro
too
football
late.
is going to risk being relegated. Jerry Jones will never relegate the Dallas Cowboys. Cal McNair will never relegate the Houston Texans. It'd rather tank, get the top draft pick, get rewarded for being bad, actually, in pro sports. Right?
Jerry Jones doesn't want to do that either, by the way. He wants pure mid.
He wants pure mid.
But the facility, though.
But in this instance, the 9-3 in the top half of the conference team missed the college football playoff. They're missing out on a lot of dollars, right? That's why they're never going to win. It's like they want those cupcake wins because that 12-1 is more likely to get you the dollars and cents that come with being a college football playoff team, as opposed to like, we won the better half of the conference at 9-3. Like, what does that get you? It doesn't get you anything. As
the
far
NIT. It gets you an NIT championship.
Also, wouldn't the other schools that are not in the quote unquote popular conference or popular division, wouldn't they be pissed and be like, hey, maybe we don't want to be a part of the ACC anymore?
And they don't care.
Where do they go? Where could they go, though?
The other schools don't care. Yeah, that's right. There's no other
Pac-12
option.
coming back, baby.
You'll take it and like it.
They're trying. The only thing I'll say about this is, look, in a world where, Big 12, ACC are just trying to do different things to compete with the SEC and the Big 10, I can get at least why they're trying to swing for the fences, get the revenue in terms of how high profile of matchups that will be when a Clemson and a Miami do play each other. This Notre Dame Clemson thing, they'll play each other year in and year out too. And guys, while I do agree the Big 12 looks better than the ACC, weren't we just a year ago removed from when we were going to become the All-State 12 or whatever the conference name was?
Which I'm fine with.
I'm not.
That's not the same thing. That's so far. That's just JT.
That looks bad. I think it looks bad.
This isn't apples and oranges even. That's not the same thing.
I'm just saying, I think it looks bad.
That is a sponsorship and making money. This is how you organize your schedule.
But at what cost?
These are not the same things. They're not comparable. They're not.
Here's where you lose me, JT.
There's a profit.
It's the problem is the All-State. If Locked On, if it was Locked On the Big 12, you'd be okay with it. Right? If we sponsored it.
Locked On Big 12 does well.
Locked On Utes Big 12.
What's wrong with Derek? Come on.
It was more towards Parker, but Derek
your
caught
fan
it.
base has so much affinity for SMU, yet walks around acting like OU in this conference. It does blow my mind. All right, I will say it's crazy.
I think if we added SMU, it'd be the only way to make Utah less insufferable. It would
be a blessing to Utah, man.
Just the problem is though, Utah fans do exist. That's not, you can't not having fans. There are a ton of them. SMU
really
fans
quick
aren't real. Are the SMU fans in the room with us right now?
I thought, by the way, I want to shout out Cody. Cody, you had tremendous reporting on the whole thing that happened with the Justin Kirkland thing. Drake, maybe you want to get to that, but I just wanted to shout out him and say, and I think a lot of what happens with Utah fans is we're frustrated because of what happened with BYU the weeks prior, where they were trying to get our players into the portal versus this is a different thing to me. I do think this is a different thing. And once again, I just thought it was really well
Week
reported by
6
you. I don't feel like
is BYU tampering. Let's have the same conversation again. Are they tampering? Coming up, I want to get to something interesting John Wilner reported on. We all love John Wilner about North Carolina being at the top of the list for the Big Ten alongside Notre Dame. And if that is why is it not Florida State? Why is it not Clemson? If that's the case, what happens to the Big 12? This is the Big 12 squad. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Lively show today, too. Game Time is exactly where I go during the NBA playoffs. Why? Because I can get tickets that are affordable, and that's my favorite part of the tickets, for NBA playoff games. Game Time is, I think, my favorite part. The most convenient part is the fact that you can go toggle the feature and not have any fees at the very end. There's no hidden fees. No hidden fees. You're like, oh, wow, this is just what I pay. And then you go to check out and it's like, oh, that's what I pay. Save up to 60%, by the way, off last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. All-in pricing is great. Last-minute deal is great. The seat view is great. Game Time is where you want to go. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets. Lowest prices. Guaranteed.
Somehow Utah.
I'm glad that we're getting to something interesting.
Utah's not.
Is Jordan Hudson okay if we cover this? Is that cool?
She will have to be for now. I'm sure she'll be in our comment sections. UNC, per John Wilner, is at the kind of the top of the list for the Big Ten to bring them in. And it's not Clemson. It's not Florida State. Now, I want straight away, I don't think Clemson should be at the top of your list. I visiting a couple weeks ago, Dabo Swinney came out, spoke, got to meet the guy. Great dude. I think when he leaves, they're done. And here's why. Chad Morris, great assistant, bad head coach. Brent Venables, great assistant, bad head coach. So whoever replaces Dabo Swinney there is going to have a very hard time keeping up in a school that has been lesser for most of its history. I would want North Carolina over Clemson. What I don't understand about this report is how Florida State is behind North Carolina, who has a 72-year-old head coach. Like, sure, you have Bill Belichick. And, yeah, you got the Jordan brand. But I just don't know.
Academics.
No, you nailed it.
Gives a rat's
ass. They do.
Yeah,
they do.
Bill Belichick.
Right, here's your SEO take: is Florida State Shadur Sanders to the NFL draft? Like, teams are just like, we don't want to deal with that talent level based on the crap we have to deal with like the AD and the president.
That should have been us with Utah. That should have been the Big 12 with Utah. Let them go to
Free
the
Shoes
WAC.
University is Shadur Sanders. I like that, Derek. That was well done, man. Yeah, you kind of made that work. I like it. Yeah,
North Carolina,
North Carolina, the
AAU program, they're academically stronger than most programs across the
even
country.
though they cheat on their final exams, or
even though they take basket weaving for most of their majors.
Yeah, exactly.
Rashad.
They're good at every sport too, right? They're bringing in more than, or they're decent at most sports. So they're bringing in that, and
it's a cultural fit to the Big Ten.
Yes,
and you also have to keep in mind, Florida State was annoying, right? No one wanted them, and now no one's going to want them even more because they went through all these hoops and whatever to force their way out of the ACC and didn't get what they want.
I think that UNC, bear with me here, if we really think about it, football. Okay, I'm Greg Sankey. I suck, and I don't want.
That didn't change. That hasn't changed.
Can we clip that, please?
Clip it.
I don't need another SEC champion. I don't need another SEC champion. I need a team that's competent at football, but brings in money. A school that's great at basketball and has a Jordan brand, and good at baseball, and good at softball, and good at. I want a supplemental school that is the premier university in that state that carries the state in the South. This is like an Arkansas or Missouri, but better.
You hear that, Cam? You hear that?
Duke's a pretty good school. I don't know if you've heard of it, Drake.
But
Wake Forest.
To Drake's point,
he said
they're in our intro.
Davidson.
I mean, that is kind of fun. If you had Duke and Carolina, then the Big Ten, you could argue, has the best football rivalry with Michigan, Ohio State, and the best basketball rivalry.
But I think the SEC could be a feasible landing spot. UNC should be on their short list, even over Florida State. If you're the SEC, I wouldn't be shocked by that part.
Kevin,
we
would
would
North
seriously
Carolina
be
be getting this treatment if they had not hired Bill Belichick?
Probably. They've been the same brand without him, and honestly, I feel like Bill Belichick is hurting their brand, if anything, right now. So I don't know.
Or his gal pal.
Yeah, I don't know if they're necessarily helping. So I think UNC
gal pal, they're dating, Chris. Have some respect.
Professional and personal relationship.
She is a girl, though.
Yeah.
Woman feels like a stretch at that age.
She's the head of Belichick Productions.
They did have, though,
She's
like pro
the head of
football players
something.
come out of there before this. Like, they weren't like a bottom of the barrel every year. I personally, like,
Julius
I grew up.
Peppers was a long time ago.
Well, look, I mean,
Mitch
we're also-
Trubisky.
Drake
Drake
May?
May. They just had Drake May a couple years
Right,
ago.
they
Sam
just
Howell?
had Drake May. Like, that was
Sam
not
Howell?
that long ago.
But
Ryan
like
Switzer?
Oklahoma goes to the SEC in their ass, okay? Carolina has been treading water in the ACC. Oklahoma comes in with like 6 of the last 10 conference championships, and they suck in that conference.
But that may
was
be
just
more
one
to Drake's
year,
point about
too.
Venables, though. We talked about Venables
JT,
earlier.
the Classic, Utah. It's just 1 year.
They just I got his grasp on something here. But with them, they seem to be doing okay. They just got Jaden Naughton from Cal, right? John Maurer, whatever that Washington State quarterback was. That was a big get for them too. Mateer, thank you, Chris.
Nice. And I can't believe you guys have me sticking up for the team we do not speak of, but they did. It was mentioned earlier. They did get the worst schedule of all time. Meanwhile, Texas got this massive gift. There seemed to be a pretty clear indication on who they made sure they needed to be successful year one.
I'm just saying, I think it's early for us to write off some of these teams like they'll never be good again. I think that's a dangerous thing. We just did that with ASU last year, right? We didn't think ASU would be good. They won the conference year one.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Saying there's a chance, Cody. We need it with how our teams looked last year.
And ready?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes. Whoa. You can wear that hat?
Waco.
Oh, wow.
Right there.
Did Mountain Dew, did you irritate somebody? Did you get
Plot
a cease
twist.
and desist from the Dew?
Plot twist.
It's a plot
did not
twist.
answer my email.
What are you repping for the Dr. Pepper 12 right now?
Ooh, a double boom. There we go.
Look, man.
Hey,
Oh,
Richie.
snap, crackle,
You
and
know,
pop.
Big
at the
Justice
end of the
tomorrow?
day, I'm a Dr. Pepper guy as much as I'm a Mountain Dew guy. It's just that segment 2 becomes more segment 3, and I get thirsty mighty fast on the show. So I had to drink Dr. Pepper because it rhymes with segment 2. Find me a way that it rhymes with segment 2 for Dr. Pepper. I will do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait till segment 3.
I want to
Dr.
ask
P.
Cody, who went to the school that kids don't read good, or whoever was saying it, rhyming.
Well, I
Dr. Pepper.
guess you could say, never mind.
It's so stunning that Cody's holding his thumb. Tongue. God.
So back to the academic
your brain sunburned too,
institutions
Drake?
that you are.
Not even
After that
sunburned.
Carolina comment, probably.
I love Paul's thoughts on North Carolina as a cultural fit.
Yes, to the SEC.
Or Big Ten.
Paul?
My thoughts on North Carolina to the SEC as a cultural fit.
Yep. Ready, go.
And
Baba! Baba!
Brother, Carolina fans have their heads so far up their own asses they're choking on their colons, okay? They would fit in just fine with some of those top-tier fan bases in the SEC.
What did Carolina fans do here?
Starting in the car and rolling the windows up. That's North Carolina. And they watch it's much like Alabama and Ole Miss, right? They think it doesn't stink, and they're also like, we are the blue-collar backbone of America. With our Argyle and our wine and cheese and that crowd. So I think
is not
they
beating the
fit
Duke
in.
allegations with any of this stuff.
I hate Carolina.
Tell us how you really feel.
I really don't like
Sam, thoughts on the White Lotus scene? And
seem to fit. I've never seen that show.
That was funny. But
Can we just get out of the way too?
That's what I was waiting for.
I mean, come on, man. Turpentine.
oh no, his old
Oh,
Wi-Fi.
he's broken.
There he goes.
I know. Let's just cut it there. That's
Turpentine.
Turpentine.
Who wants to guess where he was going with that?
That's the SEO. Turpentine.
Can't even.
Squad.
But choose your own adventure book. Do we want to go SMU to the Big 12 next? Because that would be a really fun one. Do we want to go Utah as the Big 12's most hated fan base? Or
we know that.
Or do we want to go BYU tampering? Come on, let me hear it.
I'm all in the tampering.
Hey,
BYU
BYU tampering wins. Going up on next on the Big 12
Well,
squad.
ironically,
Today's show is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. This has changed my life because I can game wherever I want to now. Oh, I don't have my Xbox console in my bedroom. That's fine. Amazon Fire TV Stick. Yeah, 4K devices right now. No console required. Play EA Sports, College Football 25, or Call of Duty with an elevated playing experience. Wi-Fi 6 and 6E and auto low latency mode. Advanced technology. Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay. Lightning fast speeds. and you can stay competitive. 4K streaming, watch over 1.5 million movies and TV shows, Disney Plus, Prime Video, Netflix, and more. Affordable and portable gaming. Hardcore gamers, get in with Fire TV Stick 4K. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV. Locked on to get started. Xbox Game Pass Unlimited subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd gen with Fire TV. Oh, just so happens your favorite team just lost its favorite player. Why? Because BYU stole him. Is BYU tampering, Cody Stovall?
Well, we just grabbed their 6'5", 240-pound linebacker named Carson Soesu. So if there's tampering going on, evidently we might be doing the same thing. Mike Gundy said, "Who needs to tamper when I can tell you to hold my beer?" This is free agency trading is all this is.
Tell you to hold his 3 or 4 or 5 beers as he gets behind
as
the
I'm
wheel.
driving.
With the steering wheel.
100 times.
As we all do. As we all do, he says.
I believe it was 1,000 level. Yeah, I think it was 1,000.
You left off a 0, Chris. Give the man his props.
Sorry, I've had a couple to drink. So
I think it's dangerous if every time a player leaves or just goes somewhere we don't like, we just call it tampering. And I think that's what Utah fans have done in this instance with Justin Kirkland. I think it's a different situation. This reminds me of Carson Ryan left Utah and went to BYU. No one was reporting on tampering, but then there are certain individuals who said they were going to stay at Utah. Then all of a sudden they're at BYU. That's where some of the tampering stuff comes into. But every individual is a different circumstance. I don't think we can all rope them into one and say, "Oh, all of them are tampering." Nope, each one is different. There were some reports about BYU WIS trying to land some Utah guys that seemed like tampering. The Kirkland one does not. I think, like I talked about earlier, I think Cody did a great job of covering this, and I just think it's dangerous when anytime there's something we don't like, we just call it tampering right now.
There's no such thing as tampering.
Should we care about tampering?
I'd like to cut that out in post, by the way. I don't want JT's fans turning on him.
Would be the first
time. Post.
Yeah.
I
do
Wait,
think
are we allowed to request things cut out in post?
Sorry, Paul.
Oh, you know what you're getting into. You know you're on the hot mic when you come in, so you cannot request it. Sorry, your stuff's too good.
I think JT's right there. It probably wasn't, but I will say I did a whole segment that like the thought of a staff coming to your area to recruit a high school kid and then just so happen to run into so-and-so at the Denny's, the Chili's, the whatever fine establishment wants to sponsor the Big 12 squad. Yep. That as a person at the Houston school, right? There are a lot of athletes in Houston that bluntly make up a lot of y'all's rosters. Like y'all, like most people in Big 12 have people from the greater Houston area on their roster. And I was like, wait a second, if you're going to come recruit Houston and then also talk to our campus, the allegation was like, okay, I do think we should look into make sure like that doesn't happen, even if it was just an allegation. Like, I think that is actually something worth talking about.
Yeah, that was started by Utah fans. And the recruit
right, that's fine.
His name is Nehemiah Cologne. And again, there was no need for them to have conversations with Justin Kirkland because Justin Kirkland was going to go back to Utah no matter what happened if he ever ended up in the portal. This is something he said months and months and months ago. So, again, this was unfortunately Utah fans making a mountain out of a molehill.
I'm really curious, Chris, what were you talking about when you said there's no such thing as tampering? What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Doesn't exist.
Yeah,
because everybody does it.
Preach.
Amen, either that everybody does it, or if you lose somebody, it's your own fault for they're not happy, they didn't get to play, you're not paying enough.
Mister, whatever. Get your bread up over here. Jeez.
No, he's right. Get your money up and your funny up. If you got outbid by someone else, you just did not have. Yeah. So in the NFL, if I'm the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Carolina Panthers, the Bucs give you $40 million, the Panthers give you $20 million. It's the NFL. It's the same playing level. I'm going to go to the team that's giving me $20 million more dollars. In college football, that might be $200,000 more dollars.
This is exactly what a lot of schools used to say when you're recruiting a big time guy way back when the rules were different, and your school would be like right in there, and then they'd lose you'd lose the kid to the big time school, and then your fans would go, they paid him. I mean, that's why we lost them. They paid them. It's convenient out.
Works every time.
But it's different now because they'll be on a team's roster, and then they are leaving. Like they'll be like, "I'm going to stay," and then all of a sudden they're just leaving. That's why I think the tampering parts of this come into, because it's not like a recruit who's uncommitted. It's a guy who's at one place, then something changes.
But why wasn't he happy? Why wasn't he happy?
Justin Kirkland?
Well, he was happy. Some of them are happy, and then they get better offers.
Insert whatever player here. I'm just saying, why weren't they happy?
I do think the one difference between the NFL comparison Drake's making is like those guys signed multi-year contracts, and those guys this is every 3 months. This is a little bit different.
And teams get penalized for tampering.
Well,
yeah, I will say, Chris, like
penalized for tampering in pro sports frequently.
Chris, the one thing that does make it a little difficult to be like, okay, but why are they happy? Are they not happy now? Is like, well, they are 18, 19-year-old kids. So sometimes it's just straight up like, it's just, I had a bad day or I had a bad week. You know?
I just think it's a cop out. I mean, personally.
Well, where I'd push back a bit is, we used for an excuse a long time, like, he must be getting paid. But I think that goes back a long time. I was with Archie Manning recently. And Archie,
humble brag.
Bravo, sweetie, Archie Manning. My life is Drake Toll.
Archie told a great story. Coach Vaught Hemingway. Coach Vaught was the first one to meet with the Saints GM, and the Saints GM gave him his initial rookie offer. And Coach Vaught cut the conversation and said he's getting paid more at Ole Miss than that. And there was truth in jest there. There has been players being paid for decades and generations in the SEC, in the Big Ten, and wherever you go, in the Big 12 too. So I think you're like, must be tampering. Yeah, it probably was. Must be getting paid. Yeah, he probably is. And your school just didn't pay him enough. Your school didn't pay him as much. If money makes him happy, if generational wealth is something he's invested in, and he couldn't get that at Oklahoma, but he could get it at Auburn, then he's going to go. And you know what you can do? Tip your hat to Auburn for having more dough.
But
here's something
these guys aren't the ones that are going to win you a championship anyways. The guys that are bounced around like this,
no, Will Howard was the quarterback of the national championship team.
Good point.
Well, he got pushed out.
Well, they got, wait. Caleb Downs helped them win a national championship. They got him from Bama.
Sean Judkins ran over 1,000 yards. That's not true at all.
We're kind of puzzle piecing these championship teams together now.
So we're saying that you can't build a roster that way.
It's not always about money. I think for Oklahoma State specifically, it was due to instability. We brought in almost 40 guys in the transfer portal class, and we're still bringing more guys in. So there was guys who were the number one starter throughout the course of spring that are being told, even though you were the starter all spring, we still don't know if you're going to be the starter after fall, because we're still bringing guys in because we still don't know what the system's going to look like. I think that's part of it too, is instability inside of a program. Some places have a very good understanding of where you're going to fit and schematically how it's going to play out on the field. Oklahoma State didn't seem to have all of that for guys like Justin Kirkland at times.
You guys know me. I have very little filter, and it's it's just part of who I am in life. So some of you may not like that I say this, but I will put names out there because that's what I do. Duncan Powell, who just signed at Providence, his agent called me, I can't tell you how many times, to try to get me to manipulate the airwaves on his behalf, to try to get people invested in maybe something to get leverage for them. And these agents are freaking scandalous, man. Like, seriously, I really feel like these dudes are the scum of the earth. They have
they have the most to lose if the rules change.
But
to all agents listening,
to look out for the best interest of the kid, right? So if X, Y, or Z school is going to guarantee him a starting spot and $800,000, it's hard not to at least convey that to the young man.
So
to all agents listening,
the Dr. Pepper / Mountain Dew guy into telling my story. That's what I'm going to do. Is what the agent.
Yeah, that's a really nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I have this huge platform, but you know what I mean. Like,
Great take, Mountaineer Paul. You got moved up the screen. Parker got relegated down.
Yeah, because I want to make sure that all agents listening that are trying to manipulate airwaves, I will happily take bribes. My social media handle is on the screen. Commas help. Commas would help. Commas.
Yeah, I'm not better than
future
Paul,
agents
sure.
that are sources.
Not above it.
Say
it on air.
Money talks, man. Why can't I get my NIL?
That's what I'm saying, Richie.
I think it's interesting, this whole thing, though, because like we kind of talked about, does there tampering exist? Does there not? Like, I don't like the current place that college football is in, where you have guys who are making millions, then leaving for slightly more minutes. I don't like that. I mean, how do you guys feel about that?
So what you just told me is a 20-year-old gets hired at KPMG, and then Deloitte offers him a $1 million offer, $1 million more than what he was making, and I just don't like it. You should be loyal to KPMG. That's what this is now. These are businesses. He wasn't loyal to KPMG. He moved to Deloitte. And I use that all the time because that's what this is. There is no loyalty in money when it's $1 million difference. And you put yourself in that situation, yeah, man, I probably also want $1 million more.
When you get $1 million more, I agree with that on $1 million more. I'm talking more about like the Nico situations.
That's what he wanted, though. Yeah,
as long as the players have to pay it back if they leave and break their contracts, which contracts should be enforced somewhere down the line. Everything will be fine.
Don't sign contracts. Just don't.
But they're not employees.
They're not.
They could be.
Well, dude, guys, I-9
should be. The NCAA.
LOI.
The NCAA has as much power as Mountaineer Paul's
Fugazi. Yeah, whatever Chris said. Fugazi. Chris, what'd you say?
Sorry, Paul.
It was the Wolf of Wall Street line. Fugazi.
I am, I'm a little bit of a philosopher, if you can't tell down below. So,
how do you spell that?
Yeah. Philosopher.
Yeah, that's right.
PHAH at the end.
Yeah.
I'm all for guys getting their money. I'm just saying when we have them leaving over small.
Are you all for it? Because I don't think you're all for it. Actually, based on
like I said, when it's
Keanu
a small
Tanavasa,
difference.
huh? What about Keanu Tanavasa?
Drake, can you lower your voice? You're scaring everyone that's listening right now.
Keanu Tanavasa can go get his own money too. If he wants to do that, that's where from the start it seemed like at first he was happy at Utah, and then all of a sudden he gets a little bit more from BYU and goes there, and then he has the right to choose that. That's fine. I'm just saying I think that's bad for the sport when you have guys making that kind of decision.
Drake,
it feels
like
college
for BYU is showing right now. Drake, relax. It's okay. No,
it's just
no one's
the fact that
talking bad about BYU. It'll be okay.
He was like, I like when the kids get their own, and then
but
he
I think
doesn't
there's
like when
a
the
difference.
kids get their own.
What I was trying to say was there's a difference between leaving for small. Now, obviously, if a guy's going to double his salary and what he's making, then yeah, and it is a salary basically. Then go, absolutely go. I get that. But I'm talking about the guys who are just leaving for the minute differences, like a Nico. Like I said, I think that's just bad for the sport.
But JT, usually what I've experienced, the minute details are something to do schematically, right? Like Oklahoma State, we lost 2 quarterbacks because after the spring, they let everybody know we're still not done adjusting the offense. We still don't know what it's going to look like. And as it sits right now, we're going to have to go with a pure mobile system. And that is going to cause people to transfer. It's not always about the dollar bills. Sometimes it's about playing time.
Bring in Daquan Finn.
And getting the most that you can.
Daquan Finn
Pay Daquan Finn as much.
Really, how many of you guys have had players transfer in, not play a snap, and transfer out this year? How many guys have had that? I've had at least 4 guys that came in. I've had at least 4 come in during the spring and then already left.
I will build off JT's point to this. It also works. It works both ways in that the universities have made some really stupid decisions because Daquan Finn's grandchildren will have a nice, beautiful home off the 1 year he played at Baylor. So this also is there are universities taking risks and paying. Baylor starting quarterback led them to 9 games last season. Was probably making a hill of beans compared to the MAC player of the year they brought in. It was going to be the savior of the program, who's now the quarterback at Miami of Ohio.
But he can go back to Toledo and get himself a hell of a house.
So, okay, interesting question, though, because
Keon Burnett, I'll piggyback. Oh, go ahead.
Keon Burnett left Arizona, went to Kansas for spring ball, just left to go back to Arizona. It works out okay because Kansas doesn't play Arizona this year. But could you imagine if they were on their schedule and then he just was able to feed the whole playbook to Arizona?
Yeah, and they've got to change that rule. The Big 12 needs to have something similar to the SEC.
Who is willing to go back to Tucson? We need to have that conversation first.
Probably someone who started there in the first place, right?
That's a great question, Dave, right? There was the
we
Iowa.
All go back to a toxic ex at one point, I guess. So
the Alabama-Iowa thing was that kid who did the same thing. Was a big storyline. All right, we're at time. Or we can go
great job, Nick. Great job, Nick. Today, Nick got a lot to say. Great job, Nick.
More today than usual, actually.
For the audio audience, I promise he's here.
Special thanks to all who were joining us today. Chris Level, Texas Tech, Cody Stovall, Oklahoma State, Mountaineer Paul, West Virginia, Cam Stewart talks all things Baylor, Derek Johnson, Kansas, JT Wisterhill, Utah, Kevin Moore Buffs, Nick Maravets, Iowa State, Richie Bradshaw, Sun Devils, and Parker Ainsworth, Locked On Cougs. With Houston, this has been and always will be the Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande Squad.